What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and bringing a little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Saturn in Taurus in the ninth house. And this is a neat place, I think, for Saturn. But when you're thinking about the nature of Saturn, Saturn can have this bit of a constrictive quality sometimes. There could be this always these rules that come, these boundaries, but Saturn gives things form and teaches us how to endure. And through patience and perseverance, when you put in the work, you really get out, you really get back what you put in with Saturn. So that's something I think to think about when we're working with him. But he can reward just as abundantly as Jupiter and bring a lot of wisdom that comes with that as well. And Saturn was known as the greater malefic in ancient in traditional astrology. And Saturn, it being a part of the day sect, you can work very constructively with Saturn. Whereas in a night chart, you can still work with Saturn, but it just requires maybe a little more effort when you're working with him. So that's just a couple of things to keep in mind with him. But then when you talk about Taurus, Taurus is ruled by the lovely Venus, and they are the fixed earth sign. They're receptive in nature. And I like to think of Taurus as like they having that Venusian flair and being so intimately connected with the earth. I think that they're here to create just these things of long lasting beauty and whatever that means for that Taurus energy. And I'm just talking about in general here. I think that Taurus is one that does have a a patience and a perseverance. And that's why I think this pairs very well with Saturn. And I think that when channeled into something that you really love and you're cultivating those things, and that's why I like to think of it as gardeners too. And I think that Taurus energy does benefit working with plants, but and working with like kind of like that yeah, working with nature. But when you put in that work, I mean, it's just I think Taurus can just do some really great things. And then and a very sensorial sign as well. Just another thing to mention with Taurus. And then you talk about the ninth house. This in traditional astrology was known as the house of God. And some of the aspects that this covers are religion and spirituality. This could be about higher knowledge, but this is not just like going to college or to like a university. This is that innate knowledge, that sort of that connection between you and source, the things you just know. And this house can also deal with like foreign travels, different cultural interest. This also can be a very, speaking of house of God, a very divine placement. This house of divination, diviners, oracles, augurs, astrologers, visions, kind of prophets, prophecies, sort of thing. So a very spiritual house that you're working with here. So when you put all these energies together, some things to think about. You'd have a Virgo rising by whole sign, and you're going to want to look to see where Venus is at, because Venus is going to be responsible for this house. And Saturn is going to be responsible for your fifth house of children and creativity, and also of your house of health and of servitudes, jobs, things along those lines, small pets, and things along those lines with the sixth house. But one thing that I would think about with this is really cultivating that practice or that connection with spirit. That's where I think the discipline of Saturn and being patient with like letting your connection with spirit feel like a ritual. So maybe this is getting up and greeting the sunrise each day and then working with your plants, and or maybe maybe you're learning astrology, maybe you're figuring out, because the earth energy is tied not just to the material things, but I mean the body is a material thing. So maybe it's like you get practice with working with different charts and different timelines, and you start getting into this practice, you're getting more familiar there, you get into that ritual, and then it just compounds, and then you can share these wisdom that you would attain with cultivating this connection here. I would find different ways too with that multicultural sort of interest there, finding different ways for you to express through spirit. I would look at different nature magic. That would be something that could maybe do just kind of wonders for you there. And again, you're working with the earth, and there's that connection there. And when I mentioned about Taurus being a sensorial sign, That's not just, I think, the five senses, but I think there is thinking about that sixth sense that we have. And I could even see you, like, I could see this as some sort of like great author, maybe creating just like some work, some tangible things. That would be a great way of working with Taurus energy. You're creating some kind of like some help books or some sort of like how to different practices that maybe you've cultivated or whatever that might be looking like there. I think that would be a great way to go. And I think there's even this could be this call to be in the reverence of sort of like holy places. And I mean like going like if you've had this available to you, going to different like maybe like Stonehenge or going to, oh goodness, I mean going to visit like some sort of pyramids that maybe happen to be around, or just like really just kind of ancient sites, and just like what do you feel in that. I think there could be something really powerful there, something that could maybe awaken different visions. And then you have this like, and then ask, be very intentional with the questions that I think you talk with spirit, and like what is that purpose, what is that great work that you're building here. That's where I could see some very constructive ways of working with this Saturn and Taurus in this house here. And that way too, even if there was, because maybe there was with Saturn being there, that ninth house, and depending on how he's aspected day versus night chart, maybe there was some troubles around spirituality and that or religion, and there is that soul quest. But it is, your responsibility to find that connection to, well, if this isn't providing me there, then I'll go on my own way, and kind of go from, maybe I'm thinking about the relationship of the contrast between like the Hierophant, which is Taurus, and the High Priestess, which is more kind of that personal inner studies. So yeah, that's something I think there's something there with that too. Getting different experience, but also too with these divine gifts, there is, with great power comes great responsibility. So I just think that that's something with Saturn just to pay attention to as well when you're working with this. And yeah, there is a lot of influence that can come with that, but those are just some rough things that we would talk about with Saturn, because there is a deep connection there that I've noticed with the Saturn in those placements, especially when you put in that practice. It's something wild. But if you have this placement, or if you know somebody who's working with this placement, excuse me, down in the comment section, then leave a description. Like, tell us how you've been working with this energies. What the revelations have you manifested. But also too, if you're wanting to work with these energies or get more familiar with your chart, your energies that you have, down in the description box there's a way of getting in touch with me, and we could talk about the different services that I provide and what would work best for you there. So that's available for you. And also on this channel I do weekly videos talking about the celestial news weekly and the chit chat that's going on up in the sky, and that's every Mercury day, which is on Wednesday. And there's also a link in the description box for my other channel, The Charity and Friends, where we're just talking all things lunar shenanigans, working with them. That's a great way of getting in touch with the divine, working with syncing up with the cycles. That's a great one. But I talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, when she's going void, of course. It's a good old time. So, but that's all I got for you. So until next time, keep raising that vibration through the roof. Stay mindful out there, and I will catch you on the next one. Later.